Centers of excellence which focus on strategic research areas such as agriculture, engineering, ICT, health sciences, and environmental sustainability. The Nigerian Education Data Initiative, which ensures evidence-based policy decisions and system-wide planning driven by accurate and real-time data. By strengthening Nigeria's research ecosystem, Tetfund is helping to create homegrown solutions, attract global partnerships, and build a knowledge economy fit for the 21st century. In response to the demands of a rapidly changing world, the fund has invested heavily in innovation and entrepreneurship hubs. These facilities house 1. Electronics and robotics laboratories, 3. 3D printing and laser technology units, 3. Renewable energy laboratories, 4. Biotechnology and AI centers, 5. Creative and leather craft workshops, 6. Recycling and upcycling. These hubs do not only provide skills training, they transform Nigerian tertiary institutions into incubators of technology, creativity, and enterprise. They empower students with practical competencies that sharpen their employability and stimulate job creation. In 2024, 18 institutions benefited from these hubs, and in 2025 cycle, 15 additional institutions were added, broadening our national innovation footprint. The future of education is digital, and Tetfund is deliberately positioning Nigerian tertiary institutions to thrive in that future. Through the Tetfund Education Research and Administration System (TERAS) platform, we are digitizing administrative processes, enhancing accountability, monitoring projects more efficiently, and supporting digital learning tools. This investment strengthens transparency, accelerates workflow, and ensures that stakeholders can track interventions with greater clarity. It also supports e-learning and digital literacy across campuses, critical tools in modern knowledge economy. Recognizing the need for world-class medical training, Tetfund has upgraded 18 colleges of medicine as in the process of establishing 8 medical simulation centers across the country. These facilities ensure that Nigerian medical students are trained using globally recognized standards and technologies. Energy remains a major challenge for institutions. To address this, the fund has committed 70 billion in 2025 budget for the deployment of sustainable mini-grid solutions across selected campuses. This initiative will drastically lower running costs, improve research output, and enhance learning environments. Transparency remains central to Tetfund's operations. Each year, fund allocation follows a clearly defined structure. 5% for cost of administration, used for Tetfund's internal operations. 4% deducted automatically by the Nigeria Revenue Service Board, NRS, as cost of collection. The remaining 91% is allocated as follows: 50% for annual direct disbursement to beneficiary institutions, 40% for special and stabilization interventions, including special high-impact projects, zonal interventions, and disaster recovery, 1% operating surplus. This formula ensures fairness, equity, and strategic national coverage while upholding the highest principles of public accountability. However, as we are all aware, only public universities, polytechnics and colleges of education qualify to benefit from Tetfund interventions. Eligibility requires a submission of the establishing law and official recognition from NUC, MBTE, or NCCE. After this, a verification visit is conducted and the Board of Trustees gives final approval. States may sponsor a maximum of 2 institutions per category. While Tetfund is committed to its mandate, we emphasize that the sustainability of these interventions requires shared ownership. Institutions, host, communities, industry partners, alumni networks, and the civil society must work hand in hand to safeguard the facilities, utilize them effectively, and ensure maintenance culture across campuses. Distinguished stakeholders, the achievements recorded so far testify to a collective vision, one that sees tertiary education not merely as a sector, but as the engine that drives national transformation. Yet, we are mindful that this journey requires even stronger collaboration, innovation, and shared purpose. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I extend heartfelt appreciation to His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and to the Honorable Minister of Education for their leadership and unflinching support. I commend the Executive Secretary and management of Tetfund for their diligence and the professionalism in executing the board's directive. I warmly welcome you once again to this town hall meeting and I encourage you to actively participate in today's engagement. Your insights will shape the future direction of our interventions and deepen the partnership between Tetfund, institutions, communities, and the Nigerian public. May this gathering ignite renewed hope, shared responsibility, and transformative progress in our higher education system. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Please, another round of applause. Thank you so much to the Chairman, Board of Trustees, Tetfund, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari, CFR.
Please, let's keep the applause going for him. Strong words right there, a clarion call and a nudge for us in getting right. And he's actually shown that with vigor, with vision, and putting it to the next level when it comes to the tertiary education sector. Please let's applaud him once again, sir.
Very quickly, we'd like to once again recognize more dignitaries in our midst. We would like to recognize the presence of Professor Nyerowo Tonukari, the Commissioner for Higher Education, Delta State. Please, a round of applause. You're very welcome, sir.
Indeed, I would like to acknowledge the presence of one of the anchors today. He's going to be doing one of the presentations much later, Professor Anthony Keeler. He is a Director General, Center for International Advanced and Professional Studies. Please let's applaud him, please. Also, we'd like to acknowledge the Tetfund management staff here present. Please let's applaud them too for being part of this change initiative and this tremendous, remarkable initiative. While the Chairman Board of Trustees was talking, he made mention about education, and he talked about the vigor of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as regards, a well-educated and a supported population is key to building a brighter and a more prosperous future for Nigeria. That said, we'll be having a testimonial, right?
Very definitely. Yes. We did mention that over the years, Tetfund has delivered transformative investments in key infrastructure, and we have testimonials by some institutions on just how impactful Tetfund has been over the years. So at this moment, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, would like to ask that you focus your attention on the multimedia screen as we take the testimonials.
In every great nation, education is the bridge between promise and progress, between potential and prosperity. In Nigeria, that bridge is being rebuilt and strengthened under the Renew Hope initiative of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. At the heart of this transformation stands the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Tetfund, the federal government's leading intervention agency for higher education.
As part of its mandate, I think Tetfund has really been doing marvelously well. I could wonder if there is no Tetfund, how our institutions would look like. Because when you go to our institutions, universities, and polytechnics, you see wonderful edifices, you see innovations, buildings that have been, sponsored by Tetfund, and those facilities, to a greater extent, has enhanced learning.
Established in 1993 as the Education Tax Fund, ETF, and transformed into the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Tetfund, in 2011. Its mission remains clear: to restore, rehabilitate, and consolidate a Nigerian's tertiary education system. Through dedicated funding and effective project management, Tetfund has become a pillar of Nigerians' academic progress.
If you go through all the campuses in Nigeria, you can not but attest to the fact that without Tetfund, I'm sure so many universities, so many polytechnics, so many colleges of education would have been wobbling on their feet. But because of these interventions, you discover that we have a lot of facilities that are present and functional and adequate because of their intervention, their yearly intervention.
Being in academia, I benefited twice. First, it was my master's program that was sponsored by Tetfund. Afterwards, a few years later, I also got sponsorship for my PhD program. So it has been amazing. After the intervention, after I got the PhD, the communication became better with me and my students, my colleagues in the department, because you're better informed than what it used to be in the past. The techniques you have learned are better than what you have had in the past.
I would say the most interesting part of these interventions that I have personally enjoyed is the fact that I've had the privilege of writing a book sponsored by Tetfund, effective communication and technical report writing. It's here in the school library for students. Of course, it's not for sale, but the good thing is that it is my work sponsored by Tetfund.
In May 2023, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu ushered in a new era.
I, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful.
A renewed hope for education, innovation, and opportunity, guided by the Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Maruf Tunji Alausa, and the Tetfund Board Chairman, Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari. The fund embraced a bold transformation agenda.
I'm highly inspired by the evidently deliberate intention and reforms of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to the specific effort of Tetfund to encourage our academia to respond to core critical needs for our national development.
The recognition of the role of research in national development, that the need to address the paucity of funds necessary to facilitate cutting-edge research in the areas of national priorities, that the Board of Trustees of Tetfund introduced the National Research Fund, NRF, intervention to fund impactful research that will contribute to national developmental efforts as well as tackle global challenges.
Across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones, multidisciplinary research laboratories are advancing cutting-edge discoveries. ensuring our researchers are no longer taking their samples abroad. In 45 institutions, innovation hubs and entrepreneurship centers are nurturing thinkers and creators, producing over 200 prototypes ready for commercialization under the TEDFAIR and R4I program initiatives.
Tetfund is funding the establishment of innovation hubs and entrepreneurship centers in our beneficiary institutions in phases. We started this program in 2023 with 12 beneficiary institutions, and for these, all the equipment are in place. Last year, we commenced the process for an additional 18 institutions. And in continuation of the phase development program, another 18 institutions will be coming on stream in 2025. That will bring a total of 48 so far that will be providing these facilities and replicating something similar to what we have.
Through this program, powered by Tetfund, in collaboration with Innovate Hub, we have been equipped with the tools and strategies to translate research into tangible, impactful innovation.
Every policy begins and ends with the student. Through new hostels, eco-friendly campus transportation, digital experience centers, Tetfund is ensuring no Nigerian child is left behind.
His Excellencies, Nigerian students have never had it good like we have it now. In the current administration of His Excellency, the President of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We really appreciate his effort in ensuring that students have adequate facilities across campuses through the Tetfund. And we are very much aware that he has injected so much money into Tetfund to ensure that the welfare of Nigerian students is protected and that students maximize the opportunities given to them to go to school and to learn. Excellency, sir, we can have students on campus, numerous students on campus. We can have thousands of lecturers on campus and management on campus. But if we do not have the infrastructural facilities, believe me that academic education learning will not be effective and efficient. It is on this note that we wish to thank you, to thank the Tetfund through your leadership for helping us, for ensuring that this institution have all the basic facilities students need to ensure that learning is efficient.
With over 100 billion naira dedicated to 18 medical colleges, Nigeria is training the next generation of doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and dentists, with medical simulation centers now redefining learning, improving patient safety, and preparing skilled professionals for tomorrow.
The Federal Ministry of Education, working closely with the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, has designed the Tetfund Impact Intervention Project for medical schools rehabilitation across the 6 geopolitical zones. This project is a deliberate response to the urgent need to expand our medical training capacity by rehabilitating and modernizing key infrastructures, lecture theaters, laboratories, hostels, clinical learning environment to significantly increase enrollment in medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, and nursing programs across these selected 18 universities.
Today's event marks yet another bold step in our collective commitment to reposition Nigeria's medical education system and strengthen our national healthcare delivery through sustainable investment in infrastructure, research, and academic excellence.
But if we take a minimum of 5 years investing in medical sciences, the difference will be very clear. We will no longer be afraid of JAPA with regards to medical sciences. We will produce more, export more, especially to African and other countries, and arm more foreign exchange for our country.
The provision of critical manpower in the health sector remains a huge challenge and is often exacerbated by the Japa syndrome. The problems of insufficient and unqualified medical personnel leading to high doctor-patient ratio and all the other indices that we are not very proud of have lingered for far too long. The challenges of ill-equipped medical facilities have also persisted. It is for these reasons that intervention is considered not only important, but also timely.
Powering education sustainably, Tetfund and the Rural Electrification Agency are installing solar solutions across campuses. From Eboyin to Jigawa, Akwa Ibom to Gombe, thousands of iconic projects are being completed, providing the foundation for quality learning. To boost food security, agricultural laboratories and commercial firms have sprung up across institutions, merging research with real-world production. Here, innovation grows alongside crops, turning knowledge into nourishment.
Nigeria is a great country in terms of endowment in two key areas, agriculture and mineral resources. If you go to any state in this country, so many minerals, a lot of it not adequately explored. And we are encouraging our researchers, exploration, exploitation, mining, and so on, and then the various uses. You give them the capacity to earn more. If you challenge Nigerians, they will give you the solution.
Through the Tertiary Education Research Application Service, TERAS, Nigeria's tertiary education system is uniting under one digital platform, linking research, identity, and innovation. From e-learning to plagiarism checks, TERAS drives the knowledge economy.
But we want to do a lot more, and the president is in a hurry. He wants us to transform this economy as quickly as we can, because if we don't, there's a loom. And we're beginning to see it unraveling before our eyes. We're looking at key areas that have capacity for job creation. The first of this area is in the area of ICT. We know that the world today has become so integrated. So we need to incorporate and prepare our own young people. Let them have, here AI is exploding. There is no reason why we cannot take a lead in that area.
New centers of excellence now champion renewable energy, governance, and dairy research. Through partnership with global institutions, from the European Union Research Council to Campus France, Nigerian innovation is now a global conversation.
Of what the University of Sokoto have been able to accomplish with our Center of Excellence. You see, what we need, one, we need change agents, motivators. Two, we need consistency and congruency of goals. When people are committed, if you go there, if you look at the composition of the people who are involved in research there, it's not all these mundane Nigerian considerations. You see people from all over the country who are there working together harmoniously, rendering services. Do you know that state governments are even doing signing agreements with them to be taking, Kano State government, for example, 30 patients for specific operations on very difficult operations that they normally would take to India. State government are even sponsoring people to go there to go and do operations. This is the type of thing we do. It also fosters national integration and ensure that we use our best brains here.
With over 8,000 scholars trained for higher degrees in partnership between polytechnics and artisans, Tetfund is blending knowledge with craftsmanship, aligning education with employment.
We must innovate, we must create, we must make new products, and through that, we must create wealth.
In 2024, the first National Research Fair, TEDFair, showcased homegrown researchers and innovations.
I sold everything, including my shoes, to convert my ideas into a stage where somebody will even look at me and listen to me.
What we ask Tetfund to do is Tetfund fund prototyping. You finish a research, you want to produce a prototype. You need funding to do that. Tetfund will be able to have a funding window for prototyping that has scalability and market acceptability.
We need to look at our education. We need to look at our curriculum. That MSc or PhD program, what is it for? Is it for you to publish your papers on Thomson Reuters, or for you to begin to have products that can be patented and then over the period go to the market?
Within our challenges, we must continue to see the opportunities. Then you emphasize the need for data. There is no way we can make progress if we don't have data. The need for collaboration, and the last bit of your statement in relation to that is for the critical stakeholders within government to continue to work together collaboratively.
We would love to see a situation whereby participants from various institutions are increased in number. For me, I am one person impacted. We pray to God Almighty that the federal government of Nigeria will continue to support Tetfund 100%. And we thank you for bridging the gap between research and enterprise. We believe that this will boost the economy of Nigeria through research.
While 130 new academic textbooks enrich libraries nationwide, written by Nigerian scholars for Nigerian students.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a fervent believer in developing the human capital of our country. And when you talk about human capital, what do you talk about? Education, health, and social protection. And this president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has been a president in the last 30 years. If you compare what this president has spent, has budgeted, has invested in education, health, and social protection, it's second to none.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has shown a deep commitment to the advancement of education, recognizing its fundamental role in driving national growth. This commitment is reflected in the prioritization of funding and policy reforms aimed at enhancing content development and building the capacity of our public tertiary educational institutions.
From lecture halls to laboratories, this achievement stands as a monument of progress, with visible proof of the renewed hope transforming campuses across Nigeria. The journey continues under the renewed hope initiative of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and through Tetfund's visionary leadership. Education is powering Nigerians' transformation, a future where every student can dream, every lecturer can innovate, and every institution can thrive.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, now you understand why Tetfund is called the first-class interventionist agency, with our insignia on all tertiary institutions, and loudly retain Tetfund with our transformative initiatives and our innovations across these beneficiary institutions. Please, let's put our hands together for Tetfund.
Absolutely. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ayon Myro Esse, anchor at Arise News, and I'm delighted to be co-hosting today's very important conversation. Now, if you watch the documentary, one of the importance of us being able to showcase the stories that we have resources, monetary resources of Nigerians entrusted in Tetfund. And it's important that we're able to demonstrate and show very clearly where your money is working and how your money is working. And we do hope that you're satisfied with the incredible achievements being highlighted by Tetfund in the short video that we're able to show. If we had 24 hours, I'm sure we'd be able to showcase some of the most significant achievements of the Tetfund in the cause under review. Now, the president, as we heard spoken, is quite in a hurry to actualize his renewed hope agenda for education in Nigeria. And that's why for many of us here, we're on the hot seat and willing to ensure that this vision is actualized. We heard that it is the hope that every student can dream, every lecturer can innovate, and every institution can thrive here in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I believe that that documentary deserves another round of applause, just showcasing the excellent work, except you're unhappy with what has been done so far. But if you're proud of the work that has been achieved by Tetfund, please let's give them another round of applause, just hearing of the testimonials from the field.
Amazing, well said. We'll now take a quick introduction of some of our dignitaries here present. You want to do the honors first?
Yes, we do have some dignitaries, and in the course of today's program, at different points, we will be recognizing some of our key stakeholders who have made time out of their very busy schedule on a Monday morning in Lagos State to be with us here for this town hall meeting. I'd like to recognize the presence of the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Tertiary Education, representing the Commissioner in the person of Mr. Kasali Adeniran Wahid.
Much later, we'll be doing a goodwill message, so it's good that we get the introduction said. We'll also have Professor Hussaini Afisa. He is the DVC academic LASU, and he's representing the Vice Chancellor LASU. Please let's applaud him once again.
All right, we have here with us Dr. Olusegun B. Samuel. He's the Vice Chairman, ASU University of Lagos. A round of applause, please.
We'll also have Comrade Samuel Akindele representing the National President, COESO, the Comrade Dr. Lawan. Yes, please let's applaud him as well. You're welcome, sir.
I'd like to recognize the presence of the Internal Auditor, ASU University of Lagos. We have a strong delegation from the University of Lagos, Dr. Adedeji Aliyu. A round of applause, please, for Dr. Aliyu.
Also, we have representations, our board of board members, and also the beneficiary institutions, head of beneficiary institutions here present. Please let's applaud them. I can see one or two at the back. Please let's applaud them. It's very much important. That said, we'll do the introduction following the schedule.
All right. Okay, so before that, we have one of our speakers here. He'll be presenting in a short while, and I'm delighted to recognize Professor Anthony Killer, Director General, Center for International Advanced and Professional Studies. And he has a lot when it has to do with education. He's passionate about education in Nigeria. I look forward to listening to him.
The Chair of the Board of Trustees of Tetfund, other members of the Board of Trustees, you're present, our royal fathers, heads of tertiary institutions, commissioners from our various states here present, the lead speaker and other presenters here, special invited guests, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I have a task to explain to you why we as a people, as a country, should support Mr. President in his desire to use special funding to transform our education sector for national transformation. And the logic of it is very simple. We are in what is widely acknowledged as the global knowledge economy, meaning that knowledge, information, skills, talents have replaced natural resources that used to be the commanding heights of the world, of the global economy. So countries with natural resources, whether it is gold, whether it is iron, whether it's minerals, that used to be the wealthiest countries before, have fallen behind. Because today, it is how you are able to exploit those resources, how you are able to add value, how you are able to transform them, that actually creates the values. And what do we mean by value? Beyond the economic benefits. We export raw materials, we export crude oil. People go and refine it and sell it to us 5 times the cost at which we sell the crude. We export cocoa. Other people will now add value and turn them into beverages, turn them into chocolates, and sell them 10 times the cost that they bought from us. And in the process, besides that economic value, there is also the value chain that is created. The process of creating those values through processing, through logistics, through distribution, create jobs in their country. Because many people have to be engaged to perform those tasks. And by the distribution of wealth at each level at each stage, people earn income, they can feed their families, it creates demand because their standard of living now gets improved because the more you earn, the more things you aspire to consume. And that creates demand for other goods and services. And to create those goods and services, you also need knowledge, better ways of doing things, new products, and new services. That is why knowledge rules the world today. And the principal creator of knowledge is the formal education system. There are other ways you can acquire knowledge. But if you are talking about scale, if you are talking about a program, a desire, a deliberate process, you have to reinforce and transform your education system. Now, Nigeria started very well in its education tree. We have a rich history starting from 1948 when the University College Ibadan was established. And then early independence, when as per the Ashby Commission in 1959, there was a decision to establish institutions. Before then, the Yaba College of Technology that we have here today was the precursor of all forms of higher education in the country. It was a technical college at the time, and it was intended to produce those who will help support the colonialists in some of the activities that they were doing, including mining and so on and so forth. But at independence, we now saw a drive to establish institutions, universities in particular. In Suka 1960, by 1962, Ife, ABU, Zaria, University of Lagos, and even the University College were all transformed into universities. Shortly after that, the University of Benin followed, and those were classified as the first generation universities in Nigeria. And thereafter, we have second, third, and fourth generations. Then private universities came on board. Then we had so many polytechnics and colleges of education and all other forms of monotechnics and other institutions, all carrying out one thing, providing manpower for our youth and acting as the hub of knowledge to transform our society. This massive expansion that followed as a result of a rapid increase in population meant that the traditional form of funding through the annual budgets was no longer sufficient to sustain the institutions. So our institutions actually experienced decay because there was a massive explosion in numbers, but not enough resources to support that. That was how the Academic Staff Union of Universities and other unions collaborated and compelled government to think about other ways of providing supplemental funding. So in 1993, through their strike, they were led by Tahiru Jega at the time, government agreed to establish the Education Trust Fund, as it was called at that time. And that fund was applied to all the three layers of our education tree, from primary to secondary to tertiary. But along the line, it was also felt that apart from the duplication in functions, because agencies like UBEC were created to focus on basic education, which was interpreted to mean primary and junior secondary, it was felt that the limited resources that were coming in were being spread so thinly across too many institutions. And that's why government decided to refocus by now establishing specifically for the tertiary education sector in 2011 that Tetfund was born. And Tetfund was now given the mandate to focus on tertiary with particular reference to our universities, our polytechnics, and colleges of education. This repurposing creates an opportunity for us now to concentrate resources on specific areas of national need. Now the question is, why do we need to do this even more? And the answer is very simple. I want each and every one of us to take the message home so that as a people, we all come to a shared acceptance that this is a very big opportunity for us as a country. And I will lay the background. Today, if you look across the globe, most of the advanced countries, the countries that are today leading our economies, are either suffering from aging population, meaning that a significant proportion of their people are getting very old, and or low birth rates, which means their population is not increasing. In fact, some like Japan are suffering negative population. Even Russia is suffering negative population growth. What does that mean for the workforce of tomorrow? It means countries like Nigeria, with a very high population growth rate. You can see our country, one of the ones with the highest youth segment. 65% of our population are young people. And with advances in technology that you don't have to be physically in any place to work, Nigeria stands in a very vantage position with comparative advantage to produce the manpower, the workforce for the entire globe going forward. We are seeing bits of that. That is why they are attracting all our people with Japan, giving them all sorts of incentives. But as my chairman said, we don't need to worry too much about this if we invest in our people, train them here. Many of them will even remain here and be working for all these global companies virtually using technology. Others will still go physically. And they will remit money back home because we are very culturally attuned people. In 2000, we can check the records. In 2018, our diaspora remittances exceeded the amount of earnings from oil. The records are there. Meaning that instead of exporting raw materials, exporting crude, we can now export our intellectual assets and earn more. The same way they are doing to us with our raw materials now, that they will go and add value go and process and send it back to us at huge cost. We will export our brains, our knowledge, our skills, and earn a lot of money and repatriate that money back home to train our people to develop our country. We will also use the products of their inventions, their research. That is why Tetfund, apart from infrastructure, the next cardinal thing we are doing is restructuring our curriculum across board so that we make them relevant to industry, focusing on research, on innovation, on creativity. We want to be the production hub. China calls itself the production lab of the world today. We want to be like that. India is leading in ICT all across the world. We also want to compete in that space. So we need funding to train our people, to give them the right skills. We need this funding so that we can revamp our educational system. We are now, as we speak, creating platforms. We've studied what the educational system in those advanced countries, in Finland, in Japan, in the US, in so many other countries. And what we are doing, adopting now, in Germany, for example, is that we are rejigging our curriculum. We are taking those steps and improving on those things they have done, creating platforms where students can acquire knowledge seamlessly. We don't want to be limited by the number of classrooms we can create. Education can go on 24 hours a day, and students will have the ability of digitally being able to, in real time, online, learn, acquire knowledge, search for knowledge, and carry out tasks. So our terrace that you saw there is going to afford Nigerian students that opportunity. Whether you're in the private or public universities, when you go on terrace, you have access to nearly any published work, any article. 400 libraries. I'm not talking about books now. A library will contain tens of thousands of books. 400 libraries will be there. And you are going to have interconnections. You are going to have lectures, papers presented by experts from the best institutions around the world available to anyone that just have access to that platform. So that our students will have the same opportunities, the same learning resources, the same educational content as other students in any top-rate university around the globe. That is our objective, and we are already achieving that. In fact, we are mandating it. The minister has insisted that we must incorporate learning management systems into our curriculum. We must incorporate entrepreneurship into all our subjects that we are earning. So we are not only giving certificates to our students. You have a degree, if you like, PhD in computer science or pole science, it does not help you in today's work. So we want to be able to make you fit to work with industry, to work for companies outside the country, and to be able to yourself become a creator of jobs and a creator of wealth, because you are going to be able to identify opportunities within our environment and how to exploit it productively for the growth of our country and also for your personal development. This is the idea. And that is why when there was an attempt to reduce or stop Tetfund funding, Mr. President stepped in to say no, the future of our country depends on this. And that is why from this coming year now, 2026, when the education tax will be replaced by the development levy, Mr. President has ensured that we are going to be getting 50% of that to continue to do the interventions that are necessary to make our institutions globally competitive, for us to produce Nigerian young men and women who will help us to transform this economy, to reduce all those negative indices about out-of-school children, about poor quality of education, and so on and so forth, so we can become a hub, an education hub, a hub of experts, a hub of human capital, and that we can now transform from exporters of raw materials to those of intellectual assets. This is the justification for us. And when we get this money, the impact will be out there. You've seen what that means. It will mean new ideas, new ways, new products, new services that will create jobs in our country, that will improve our systems and processes, including those of production. What we are saying in real terms is that we should be able to develop equipment and machines that stop our farmers from using cutlasses and hoes, that makes them improve their yield by knowing new varieties of crops that will give them high yield, by letting them know the technology of how to plant, how to fertilize, how to irrigate, how to mechanize their processes with simple tools that will add value. So a farmer now will increase his income because he has become aware of various ways and means and have new products that he can use to increase the fertility of his soil, to reduce invasion of all sorts of what we now call various agronomic practices. And you will be in the position to raise the standard of living of those farmers, to increase their income, and more people will be attracted to go into farming because you will remove the drudgery from it. The same thing with mining. People are now just mining and stealing our wealth away. But by the time we regulate it and get our people involved, they will come together and establish those extractive industries that will help us better exploit and refine our minerals in this country. That way we create jobs, we create new things, we improve, we stop importing everything and consuming everything from outside. Let production happen at home. But the way to do that is to invest in your education, to produce your own people. It is your people that will use their ideas to exploit your God-given natural resources and maximize the benefits for you. That is why Tetfund is clamoring for support. We are in tune with Mr. President's desire. We are working very hard to transform our beneficiary institutions. And in the years ahead, across all sectors, we are going to be seeing more and more of those benefits. I thank you for coming, and I wish us a very rewarding experience here today.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please can we keep the applause going once again? A man of many sides who does walk the talk with affirmative action. Some call him the walking encyclopedia for a reason, and you would attest to me that he's well versed and well suited for the job. Please let's applaud him once again.
Indeed, on the note on which he ended, I would like to quote Nelson Mandela, who says, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." And I dare say that education is the most powerful weapon with which you can change Nigeria and the future of Nigeria. And that's why this is so important. And the conversation we're having today would highlight that. Now, very quickly, because we know that our time is far spent, we'd like to invite a few of our distinguished guests to the microphone to give their goodwill message. We'll be doing this in the next few minutes. I would like to kindly crave the indulgence of all invited speakers to the microphone to please take 2 minutes each for the goodwill messages. Straight afterwards, we would have tea and coffee. So if anyone speaks too long, you know they're the ones separating you from your tea, coffee, and refreshments.
So you know who to hold responsible.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So with that much pressure, I'd like to invite, first of all, to give his goodwill message this afternoon, Senator Muntari Dandutse, the Honorable Chairman, Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Tetfund. A round of applause, please, as it comes to the microphone.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the former governor of Katsina State, and the chairman board of trustee, the executive secretary, Tetfund, the representative of the executive governor of Lagos State, our Royal Highness, the Board of Trustees here present, I would like to use this opportunity to sincerely appreciate the leadership of the Executive Secretary of the Tetfund under the goodwill effort he is making in terms of making things work for the success of education, tertiary education. And I want to use this opportunity also to sincerely appreciate the leadership of the Chairman Board of Trustees of the Tetfund for unwavering support he's given to the Executive Secretary and the leadership of the Tetfund. And as a matter of fact, we in the Senate, we are very much more in support of whatever will enhance educational development in this country. And I believe the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces is a very important development in terms of revolutionizing the education, which we are supporting it, and we have made all effort as what the Executive Secretary said in terms of the development levy. 50% will be given to the Tetfund to ensure not only development of infrastructure, also the intellectual capacity of our younger generation that are yet unborn, so that they can have a solid foundation. And the funding research and innovation is a key to success of this country. And Nigeria is blessed. We have all the basic raw materials for development. But what we need, we have to use our intellectual capacity under this very important agency is making a milestone, and the effort is yielding result. And I want to sincerely appreciate all the stakeholders to give this Renew Hope agenda, which is a very important development to the development of education in Nigeria. Thank you, and God bless Federal Republic.
Please, let's applaud him for that brief goodwill message. Whilst he was doing the goodwill message, we have Right Honorable Sunday Adepoju, Board Member, Southwest Zone of Tetfund, make his way in. You're welcome, sir. Thank you. Please, let's applaud him. Let's appreciate him.
I think the Honorable Chairman, Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Tetfund, Senator Muntari Dandutse, deserves a louder round of applause because he has set the pace for others to follow. Thank you so much, sir, for your goodwill message. Succinct, straight to the point, and impactful. And that's what we look forward to as we call up the next person, no pressure, for his goodwill message. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Tertiary Education, representing the Commissioner, in the person of Mr. Kasali Adeniro Wahid.
Thank you very much. Don't worry, I'll be very brief. But remember, this is Lagos. Thank you very much. And thanks for picking Lagos as a space for this town hall meeting of one of the most important tertiary education intervention in Nigeria. Your Excellency and the Chairman Board of Trustees of Tetfund and other members of the board, the Senate Chairman on the Committee Chairman on Tertiary Education, our Executive Secretary, our Royal Fathers here present, Kabiyesi Kadepelori, Kibatakpe Lese, and the members of the academia here, and everyone here, the professors, everybody, stakeholders in the field of tertiary education in Nigeria. I'm here to present the goodwill message of the government of Lagos State, the Commissioner for Tertiary Education, Honorable Tolani Sule. My coming here is very important because Lagos State is a strategic partner when it comes to development of tertiary education in Nigeria. But let me start by saying that we want to appreciate Tetfund for its strategic alignment with the Renewed Hope initiative. I think we need to give them, Tetfund, a round of applause for that. Because the result that we have all over tertiary institutions in Nigeria today is a manifestation of the commitment of the managers of that space towards improving the quality of tertiary education in Nigeria. Let me state here that from us in Lagos State, we want to thank Tetfund for leading that space, for making our tertiary educations comply with the United Nations standard when it comes to assessing tertiary education. Number one, with all your intervention, we have met those parameters. We talk about what? Access, we are there. When we talk about quality, we are there. And when we talk about relevance of our institutions, we are there. And it's all because of what? That vision that we have, even at Tetfund. Then another thing that is very key is that you have made our institutions to be 21st century compliant. With all of your programs, with all of your interventions, because 21st century is about knowledge and it is tech-driven. You have made our institutions to be knowledge and tech-driven. 21st century is about what? Critical thinking and problem solving. Investing in education has made our own institution to be solution centers to provide solution providers for the problems emanating from the challenges from our human and environment that we have today. Then the 21st century is about creativity and what? Innovation. Our universities, our tertiary institutions are what? Are innovation centers, going by the results that we have all over Nigeria today. Then above board, 21st century is about partnership. We have partnered with the best of breed. And globally, the destination point for institutions all over in the world is what? Is Nigeria. It's because we have the conducive environment that will enable our youth to survive, to strive. And one thing that is critical, as mentioned by the Executive Secretary, is that we want to leverage on the opportunity that we have in Nigeria, particularly the youth population. And that is why for us in Lagos, we have strategically aligned with what is happening at the national level as a sub-national. One is that with our development agenda, as encapsulated in Teams Plus, the plus there is about what? Youth development. And that is why Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu is committed to providing that education space where the yearning and aspiration of our youth when it comes to tertiary education can be well met. I want to thank Tetfund for what you are doing. And remember, sir, my ESR, Lagos is the destination point. Because the most sought after university in Nigeria is Lagos State University. Going by the fact that here, Lagos is what? Safe, it is secure, it is functional, and it's productive. What that means is that we need more of your presence. We need more of your support, as you have been doing. And thank you for what you do. Thank you for investing in education. Thank you for making our institution smart institutions. Thank you for making the members of the faculty smart faculty. And thank you for making our students smart students, fit for purpose, fit for use. On behalf of the government of Lagos State, I want to thank you all and God bless.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for him. He spoke for just 1 minute. It's safe to say, yes. That's the shortest goodwill message today. Please let's applaud him once again. Well said, sir. Well said. His passion actually speaks in his words and his dexterity and his command. You understand why he is the permanent secretary for tertiary education.
Absolutely. As a proud Lagosian myself, I have to say that Lagos is the center of excellence. We lead, others follow. Thank you so much, Permanent Secretary, and also for just using the opportunity to appreciate Tetfund for their support. Indeed, collaboration is the way forward, and we continue to collaborate to build a stronger institution when we talk about the education sector. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to tell you that it's now time for your tea and coffee break. However, just to tease as to what to expect when you come back, we will be having the first presentation on tertiary education in Nigeria and the relevance of Tetfund. A powerful one there, and that would be spearheaded by Professor Anthony Keeler. He is an exceptional speaker, and I believe that he would provoke your thoughts when he speaks. Also, after the session, we'll be having another presentation by the legendary Dr. Ruben Abati, anchor on Arise News and veteran broadcaster. He'll be speaking on Tetfund in the eye of the public. Right. If you've had the opportunity to hear him speak, you'd know that it's one presentation you definitely want to come back for. So please, let's take our tea and coffee very quickly and be back in the hall. With Malik giving us more instructions as to how that would proceed.
Yes, indeed. And afterwards, we'll have an interactive session, which will be very much open for question and answers, observations, and whatever note in that regard, which we'll take back. And for the tea break, it's just outside the hall, just to the right. And you can serve yourself, enjoy yourself, have a shared camaraderie for that duration of time. And we'll make it snappy so that we can continue back. We can still do group photograph outside simultaneously in the course of the tea break. That would be good.
So we have 15 minutes for tea break. That means I will be back in this hall at 12:40. 12:40. That's 20 minutes to the hour of 1 p.m. So please, the VIPs would be ushered. We have a room designated for tea and coffee break. Whilst for all invited guests, I'd ask that you kindly use one of the serving station as described to your right-hand side. We look forward to seeing you back at 12:40, where we will then have our first presentation of the day. Thank you all very much.
We're of the school of thought that we should do like the group photograph here before we go out for the tea break, because it's very important. Since we have the fourth estate of the REM here, we could do the full photograph and we now proceed for the tea break. Yes, others can go for tea break.
So can we have all our guests go for the tea break? Yes. We also have our VIPs in front for the group photograph.
Yes.
Again, tea break is open. We're back at 12:40 p.m. Would like to ask that everyone kindly take their tea, coffee, and come back to their table to enjoy your refreshments. 12:40 p.m. Thank you. May we please have the chairman, the ES, and the royal fathers, the Obas, please, kindly come forward for a picture. The chairman, Board of Trustees, Tetfund.
Welcome back from the live telecast. We'll now continue with our regular programs. Stay tuned.
From the beeping mainframes of the 1960s to the smartphone in your pocket, and now machines that can think, learn, and speak like us. This is Techni Fire. Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Aluwa Joy. On this show, we connect the dots between the past, present, and the future of technology. We revisit the genius of yesterday's breakthroughs, the microchip, the internet, and the first robot arm. And we dive into tomorrow, AI that can create art, machines that can heal the body, and tech that's reshaping how we live and work. Every week, we explore where we have been, where we are, and where we are going. This isn't about gadgets. It's about the people, the possibilities, and the power of imagination. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to the future. Welcome to Techni Fire.
Meet Benga Oreshegun, a fearless voice and an advocate for the truth. He's bringing fresh energy and bold insights to journalists' hangout.
Get ready for deeper analysis and dynamic perspectives. Join me and Babajide Kolade Otitoju with other veteran journalists on Journalists Hangout. Weekdays from 5 p.m. and on Sundays 1:30 p.m.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Hello and welcome to Labor Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we'll be focusing on the healthcare sector in Nigeria and some of the challenges that it's faced with. We also have news stories for you. We will be right back.
At major public hospitals nationwide, services have now been grounded, from clinics to laboratories and wards, as health workers under the Joint Health Sector Unions, JOHESU, shut down operations. The union says the indefinite strike, which took effect from midnight November 14th, follows the government's refusal to implement the adjusted consolidated health salary structure, despite several meetings and warnings. Across the country, federal hospitals have fully complied with industrial action, leaving thousands of patients stranded without access to essential care provided by nurses, laboratory scientists, pharmacists, and other critical.
The necessary tools for knowledge creation, teaching, research, teacher training, interviewing, and skills development. Another way of achieving that is the power of public people. Being radical against effective and reality seated in all areas. The thing is this, ladies and gentlemen, the COVID has probably doing something to do with revenue to be needed and monthly infrastructure-related products, and out of which amount, just to be 925,871 have been accessed, leaving a balance of 463,926,368 naira to COVID, most of which are already committed.
Of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to his particular effort of Tetfund and calling your academia to respond to core critical needs for our national development. It is his inspiration and recognition for the state. All hold in achievement on these reforms that have encouraged us deliberate support the national society. Let's be reference.
It is a recognition of the role of the South national development that the need to support the whole state of funds necessary to facilitate cutting-edge research areas of national priorities like the board of trustees of Tetfund, including the National Research Fund, intervention to find the optimal site that will benefit the national development and effort as well as possible channel. Thank you very much,
Be kickstarting the afternoon session of today's town hall meeting. Again, can we please ask all distinguished guests to kindly take their seats? We will be going in for the afternoon session very shortly. Thank you. Can we please ask that the refreshment queue is progressed quickly so that we can come back into the hall? To begin the next session, Professor Anthony Killer is here and we're looking forward to his presentation. Thank you.
hereby commission was commissioned by His Excellency.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests. We wouldn't like to keep our very distinguished guests waiting, and so would like to begin the afternoon session very quickly. We hope you enjoyed your tea and coffee and light refreshments as provided for by Tetfund. And I see that we are almost at capacity in terms of the people who are here in the earlier session, so we'll go right ahead and introduce our first presentation of the day. Okay? Just to make sure that you're here with us this afternoon, can I see by wave of hands to show that you're very present? Thank you. You're ready to go. Excellent. You're good to move. Brilliant. Right, just before we introduce our first presentation and first presenter, would like to take one very quick goodwill message. Earlier on, we tried to bring all together so that we're able to progress for today's event. So just ask Malik to please introduce.
Thank you very much once again. We're about to start the second phase, and she's done the introduction. So for the goodwill message, I will call on Comrade Samuel Akindele, representing the national president for COESO. Is he here seated? Yes. Please, let's put our hands together for him. It's just 2 minutes. Right, yeah.
Right, thank you. You're welcome. God bless you. Please, all protocols duly observed. I've been sent by the National President COESO, Dr. Comrade Lawambasa, for this goodwill message. The messenger himself, that is myself, was the National President between 1996 and 2000. So it's quite appropriate. He has sent me to wish Tetfund the best in all that you are doing, and that we are proud of you. It is with great honor that I extend one goodwill message to the Tetfund Board of Trustees and participants at this important gathering. This event represents yet another step in our collective commitment to strengthening Nigeria's education sector and advancing the quality of learning in our institution. As we reflect on the gains and challenges facing the sector,
it is imperative to draw attention to a policy issue that will hinder the growth and sustainability of colleges of education, especially the newly established colleges. The Tetfund provision that denies intervention to institutions with fewer than 1,000 students. While this threshold may have been well-intentioned, its practical effects will result in a systematic collapse of colleges of education and exclusion of young institutions that urgently require support to stabilize, develop infrastructure, and attract enrollments. I must say, sirs, I was privileged to be member of the Governing Council of Gidan Madi College of Education, Sokoto, and I knew that as a member of the Governing Council, if Tetfund had not been around, there is no way such a college would have definitely. And I can say the same thing of Iwo. The same thing will have happened to Iwo. So please, I am supporting my president that you please have another look into this policy. New colleges of education cannot grow without foundational facilities. They need classrooms, laboratories, staff offices, libraries, and capacity building opportunities for academic staff. Deny them access to intervention funding at their formative stage only deepens inequality within the system and slows the expansion of teacher education opportunities across underdeserved communities. I therefore use this platform to appeal to the Tertiary Education Trust Fund to kindly revisit this policy, a more flexible, context-sensitive approach, one that recognizes developmental stages that will help this institution to flourish and enable them to meet the national demand for quality teacher preparation should be put in place. As stakeholders, we remain committed to working with Tetfund to promote policies that strengthen our institution and sustain national development. I congratulate the Trust Fund Board of Trustees once again for this noble initiative and wish all participants a fruitful and impactful engagement. I must say on behalf of our system, Tetfund have been very good to us, and I wish this continue. God bless you, and thank you as we have this engagement.
Thank you so very much, sir. Please, can we, in appreciation for that goodwill message, give him a round of applause. Thank you, sir. All right, I believe his goodwill message is a great segue into the first presentation of the day, where he's spoken about how important Tetfund is to the work that they do. And this has been echoed by a number of presentations or speeches this afternoon. And so on that note, I'd like to invite for the first presentation and interactive session for today on the topic tertiary education in Nigeria and the relevance of Tetfund. By the way, at the end of his presentation, we'll have an opportunity for interactions. So in the course of his presentation, if you have any question or anything that you'd like to highlight or note, please take it down, and once we're done, or once he's done with his presentation, we'll call for questions and he can respond to your question. Please let's welcome to the stage Director General, Center for International Advanced and Professional Studies, SIAP, Professor Anthony Killer, a man who is passionate about education and young people in Nigeria, amongst others.
Thank you very much. I come to speak against three confidence dampening factors. One is that, thank goodness, the comrade doctor spoke before me, otherwise I would have been remembered as the killer that killed the lunch break. They were coming for that. The other factor that is against my presence is that the brilliant Ayo Mario say, continue to reference my speech as brilliant and great. What if it's not a good day? The people will be waiting so high. I just come and then they will shake their head. That is the evil that friends do to you. The third factor militating against my speech is the speech of the executive secretary of Tetfund himself, the architect who knows all. Now, there are two kinds of students, the good students. There are some who know, but you're not sure they know. Then there are good bad ones who know and they make you know that they know. The ES of Tetfund is one of those ones. He came to speak without any paper and he was using data. I think he knew what I was going to say. When I got the invitation to this speech, when I got the invitation for this speech, I made two considerations. Knowing the chairman, I'll tell you the story of the chairman. Excellency, no need to pretend. We know ourselves. Just sit right there. When I got the invitation to this speech, I made two considerations. Knowing fully well who the ES is, I say, I'll go there and then I will have said everything I want to say. So I wrote one speech and I started it again. Because he would want to show me that he knows what they are doing there. If people like me will come and think they don't know what they are doing, he will prove it right. Give him a round of applause. Congratulations for demonstrating that you know what you're doing. The chairman of the BOT of Tetfund is an old customer of mine because he's one of those people I do my best to make life difficult for. But every turn, he does his best to wiggle out of it. Some years ago, while he was governor, we tried to host an event for higher education groups. And while everybody was going through bureaucratic thing, he sent a paper rowing, tell them to show you it's useful for us. I've never seen that kind of governor before. He didn't write a long thing. He just wanted to know. Tell them to show. I said, is this what your governor said? He said, yes. And they showed me the paper. Please, I'm very happy that we have at the head of Tetfund somebody who values tertiary education. And a round of applause for him. And give him that up. He knows me that is a trap. So, Mr. Chairman, what you try to do in Katsina, it's time for you to do the whole of Nigeria now that you are over here. Do we agree, sir? I think that's a good deal. It's a good way to start. So I start by bringing really distinguished greetings to everybody and to thank the organizers of this event for the thoughtful event, the content, the theme that was given to me, and their love and courage for inviting me to make this address. The bridge between Tetfund and I is a man that is used to doing great things, NEB, Eniola Bello. He's normally hiding somewhere. I don't know why. He hides all the time. And I want to thank him very much and the whole organizers for this great event. It seems to me that across Nigeria, most people consider me as a critic and a polemicist. And they think I always look for what to fight. But I will not dispute that, or I'll just leave it. I can see some people looking at me and smiling. I will not dispute that. What I will say is this. I will just expand my profile for people to know that, contrary to what anybody might think about me, the truth of the matter is that I'm actually an optimist. I am a very, very obsessed optimist who believes that in every problem there's a solution, that in every situation we find ourselves, we can do better, that in every invention that we have is a step towards a better invention. Now, this I can consider, the mindset that guides me. This mindset, and it's a worldview that I think I apply in my public and private life. It's a worldview that I must give credit, this is like referencing a paper, to my late grandmother, Abigail Killer from Ekpe, who, every time we went to her in Ekpe, then, give us pounded yam, amala, and fish. And he always, in everything she said, she always saying, well, we can do better. There's a Yoruba saying that says that when a house of a king burns, a palace burns, it's an opportunity to make it better, to do better. That's the mindset that I think guides me to know that no matter how good anything is, it can be improved upon. And it's the duty of those who have the clarity of mind and the courage of voice to point out how such things can be improved. I'm very pleased to see that beneficiaries of the tertiary, the Tetfund, have come out to praise what has been done. But let us be very frank with ourselves. Overall, a lot has been done, but many more needs to be done in the Nigeria tertiary education. It is true that the tertiary education in Nigeria is not on fire, but let's admit it. It has gone through some crack. It has taken some heat. It is having a lot of problems that we really need to deal with it. And that takes me really to the topic of today, which is the future of tertiary education in Nigeria, its relevance, its usefulness, and the evolution of Tetfund. So we're going to look at its relevance today, its usefulness, its evolution and its relevance. And to do that, I think if we want to have a truly meaningful discourse, I propose that we commence very honestly, very brutal diagnosis of the tertiary education in Nigeria. And if we there look at the mirror, with candor, really, there's a way to look at things in which we look it through our efforts. If we devoid it of our efforts and just look at it for what it is, we'll recognize that perhaps even with a sigh that tells us with all we are done, there's still some problem, we soon realize that there are 4 major areas that requires our attention. I'm pleased to say, and I have no problem admitting it, I'm pleased to say that ES has demonstrated that that is the path that his own Tetfund is willing to follow. But let us look at it. For all that Tetfund has done, it is clear to me that funding remains both inadequate and unstable in the system. If we consider the amount of per student fund, per lecturer fund, per professor fund, we're still lagging behind. If we consider the consistency and the flow of this fund, we'll realize that we still have something to do. As soon as we realize it, we'll be able to do it, there's no doubt. I also think a second issue we need to look at is that our output in research is low. Across the world, the amount of output Nigeria is able to do is less than 0.003% when we consider what the world is doing as output. The fact that we can be on that list is something, but we can do better, because a lot of my colleagues, I see prof there, are doing their best. They're doing a lot. They'll look at me and thinking, they are working, but we're devoid of our efforts to see. For a country of 200 million people, now, you see, when we blow this trumpet of this figure of 250 million people, in some places, there's no need to say 200, because 200 people do not buy your books or shoes. You have to look at the real age. But in this case, we can look at 200 million people because as administrators of education, as researchers, as teachers, we cater to the whole 200 million people. We should be able to do research that would look from cradle to grave, from gray hair to dark hair, including those who have no hair. I do. I don't wear cap to show that I have hair. But including the whole population, we can do research for them. So if our research is so low, there's something telling about it, because we have a lot of issues we can be researching on. So we should encourage that, and I think Tetfund should be looking at that. The gap in infrastructure is still vast. A lot has been done, there's no doubt. But I've been around the country. I'm pro-chancellor of a university, and I have interest in going around some universities. And I've seen that there's some tertiary institutions, polytechnics, have universities and various that, they have business cards and letterheads that call themselves university. But if you really look around it, in a way, some of them look like secondary school in the middle of a hasty takeover. What should be done? Those who went to the very good schools, 4 or 5 decades ago, will know what big, large secondary school looks like. So there is a problem there. The other problem we have, which is the fourth problem, is a conspicuous disconnect that exists between the nation's development agenda and the product and process of the tertiary institutions themselves. On one side, we have employers who complain that the graduates that come and knock on their door do not understand. He suggests to me rightfully, unemployable, that, they just come. On the other side, and at the same time, we have students who grumble that the curricula they are offered is outdated and not useful. And in my view, those 4 areas are the context within which Tetfund operates and should operate. Tetfund, therefore, should use its means to correct those 4 sectors, is my proposal, that we should identify these pillars that forms the framework in which Tetfund operate and use its influence to operate them. Let me delve into the realm of Tetfund, revisiting and reflecting on the foundational principles that define it. Namely, Tetfund, we look at the idea, the promise, its achievement, and delineating the significance of Tetfund, hopefully with clarity and purpose. The Tetfund, affectionately, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, which we all call Tetfund. Tetfund sounds like a pet name, between lovers or mother and child. For I think it's the goodies that they bring that make people call them, oh, they are Tetfund, like a pet name. It was established as a special intervention, as we've seen, fund as an intellectual safety net. You see, this is very important to always remember the origin. Since we're in Lagos, Yoruba people call it Oriki. The idea that you are praised to remind you of who you are and where you come from is supposed to guide your next step, and you know who you are. It is called etymology for identity. Knowing who you are then defines what you do or what you support, what you ought to be doing. So this idea that it is something that was created to be a safety net for intellectual reasons, to support the public tertiary institution, ensuring that, very important, not only they survive, but they flourish. Because in reality, they have other sources of funds. This is to give them that extra gear. This is to cover what the daily life cannot consider. In the language of the trendy young people, Tetfund is meant to be the X factor that gives them something extra. So we need to remember that. To that extent, the areas of intervention can therefore be classified into 5 major categories. Each one, I believe, representing a major specific domain that we should be looking at. And I must say, Tetfund is touching those areas. It's just like, the people like Oliver Twist, like myself, we want more. And let me assure you, Mr. ES, Mr. Chairman, other members of the BOT, that no matter how well you do, people like me will always come back to say more can be done. So the various 5 areas include 1, infrastructural development, academic research, publication support, institutional capacity building for both individuals and the institution itself. Undoubtedly, TETMAC has left its mark with tangible contribution that speaks volume to the idea. My research reveals that the fund has paved the way for numerous positive developments, such as catalysts for progress and innovation that include hundreds, if not thousands, of lecture halls, laboratories, libraries that were built, or some of them rehabilitated, that we have seen. Overseas training for and postgraduate scholarship for lecturers. I know that because that's my sector. Research grants across universities, polytechnics, and as well as colleges of education. The comrade doctor will be happy to hear. Support for journals and academic publishing and conferences. Across many campuses, the most exciting and newest building, a lot of time, proudly bear the Mark Tetfund plaque over there. Although I've seen some buildings that the plaque is sometimes bigger than the building itself. But we keep going. And, without this achievement, there's no doubt that many institutions might have vanished into obscurity. Not the whole university itself, but, key areas that if that building was not there. So I have a habit, because I go around campus doing public lectures and various kind of things. Anytime I go there, I say, where's the Tetfund building? You can give me that one. At least there must be one room there, because I tend to know that one will be modern and it's clean, whatever happens. So, Mr. ES, members of the board, I am one of those who use your spaces everywhere I go to. So you can see I'm passionate about making sure you do it well and you do it more. Yet, this relevance has to go beyond historical achievement. It encompasses, or it should encompass, current competencies and a visionary outlook for the future. As we cast our mind forward to imagine the future, we need to learn to envision what the new Nigerian university should be capable of doing. One of the major things they should be capable of doing has been said by the ES, Mr. Spoiler of other people's speech. Thank you very much. He has explained that Nigeria has to be a country that produces mind. We should not be afraid about export or import. We should be not only a place that produces mind, that will manage the world, that will produce the world. We should actually go back to the dream of the old UI when people come here to learn. The Nigerian university should be a place that ends forex, because foreigners come here to learn. There's a report that was done, I think in 1958, called the Ashby Report by Lord Ashby, that showed that the centers of education in the world, he mentioned about 6 in the world. Guess who was on that list? UI. In the whole world, not Africa. in the whole world he was mentioning. Here's somebody, who came from Cambridge, and yet he saw that. In my view, the vibrant 21st century higher education must deliver 5 products. I say this here today because I believe that whilst my colleagues from the Vice Chancellor Councils and Provost Chancellors and everybody will do their best, Tetfund has an extra influence that can use to achieve those 5 products I'm about to outline, to influence is to make sure it happens. One is that we must create problem solvers. These are well-bred individuals who are not mere memorizers of information or idea, but people who excel at transforming knowledge into solution. These graduates will wield their understanding as tools to tackle challenges. What they learn in the classroom, they'll be able to take it creatively, confidently, competently, and with commitment, rather than just recalling facts. They will learn something and they'll say, this is the problem, let us use our knowledge to solve it. It is their ability to apply insight to real-world situations that will set them apart, not their degree. You see, the idea being that, and this is a very fascinating story, I must quickly say here. Towards the First World War, when Bismarck was doing his region, they were in a hurry to build a lot of things in the whole Prussia. And one of the things they did to find people who were educated or not is they give you a word to pronounce. And the way you pronounced it will tell whether you're educated or not to a certain level. A very quick way. We should be able to create products from our universities that when they deal with issues, you can tell that they've gone to some kind of thorough, diligent study. Those are the problem solvers. We need to create researchers. We will require more people who are more than mere certificate holders, who seek to understand. And we, from them, we should be seeking explorers of truth, discoverers of mysteries, and architects of a new universe that is founded on logic and rigor. Not just the logic, but the rigor to understand it. Away from headline readers, away from people who repeat what they've heard. We need to find a way to champion curious minds that are eager to chart realms unseen and to construct a future that is truly built on 2 fundamental pillars: reasoning and discipline. Logic and rigor that can work on those things. We need innovators and entrepreneurs. And I say this, you see, there is a refrain that says we need more job creators than people who are looking for job. Quite frankly, we need both. Because we say this, if everybody starts wanting to be an entrepreneur, who's going to do the job? What we really need are people who, in the space of being employed, that can excel at making the process work, finding solutions to problems. Then outside that realm, they can excel in creating what is not existent. Entrepreneurs create what does not exist, whether it's product or service. Operators make what is existent work well. You cannot do one without the other. I have seen in Nigeria something that makes me laugh. You see people doing a job, they say, I'm tired of working in that place. I'm going to start my own business. I laugh because starting your own business, that is when you work 24 hours. When you work somewhere else, you work what is required, maybe some extra time. But your own business, you don't sleep. We need to make people understand it when we have this push of everybody becoming an entrepreneur. No, everybody do not have to become an entrepreneur. What we need is everybody doing well wherever they are. What we need is a society where, without being an entrepreneur, you have a good pay, you have a good status in university for being a teacher, a barber, a photographer, a doctor that works anywhere. That is the point. And then I think that is what our tertiary education should be able to provide. The fourth thing I think we would need is professionals with true global competence. There is a word, global and local at the same time. We need to be able to move through this new shift of the world where we create graduates that are not stranded in their local condition. We need to create graduates that are not lost in foreign ideas. The ideal graduate should be able to have global knowledge and understanding of local situation. Sometimes you use your local experience to rule the world. Sometimes you use adaptation of the world knowledge to manage your local space. Sadly, like all good things, these things do not happen by chance. We need to deliberately push for it. And that is what Tetfund can do for us. The third thing is we need, number 5, we need citizens capable of reflection and debate. Citizens who realize that whether I like the chairman of BOT or not, I see what Tetfund is doing. It really doesn't matter. You know, I can disagree with him on other things, but I should be able to count that truly 3 + 2 = 5. So that even if I want more, if I want less, it will be clear that this is my choice. But facts are facts. You cannot say that reforms are not happening if they're happening. At best, you can say you do it another way, but you cannot say this is not the fact. We need those kind of citizens. You see, to do that, I have bad news for you. Nobody's born in the right way. When people say, let somebody be yourself. No, don't be yourself. Most people, if they are themselves, they are smelly. We have to wash. We can't be ourselves. If you be yourself, you end up with beard like me, instead of looking with a fresh face like the executive secretary. He shaves. That's why he looks good. Be yourself is dangerous. You need to polish up. So we need to polish up our students, our graduates, so that they can be people who can listen attentively to a governor, minister, chairman of board or ES and say, yes, I get what they're doing, but I think we can do more. And it is not only people who go to social media and whine without any kind of solution or insult people that they should even be able to talk to. We should create a set of new products, graduates who can look at the problem and offer a solution. There's something that fascinates me. In all the debates we have in this country, even economists, even my colleagues and various other strategists, they're not able to come up with an alternative budget. They just say that is not good. I've challenged them that surely the essence of knowledge is to look at what is wrong and say, this is another way to do it. In a way that when you put the figures together, you can see what they're proposing. To show revenue, to show spending, and to show a different kind of balance. I challenge our educational system and through the force of Tetfund to help create that kind of product that we have. The challenge before our institution, and it is a standard by which Tetfund must be assessed in my view, is the ability to use their influence to help shape the process and product of our tertiary education, to say this is where we're going. There is a question in the topic of my intervention that requires to be answered. The question is Tetfund still relevant? My answer unequivocally is yes. But being me, it is a yes with but. It is yet but in a mode that needs to change a bit, that follows what we have said. Tetfund will continue to be a vital institution because Nigeria's education system still requires a dedicated, structured approach of funding, and it hasn't got enough. Without a targeted, this is the point, now this is the change. Without a targeted intervention, financing public institutions risks further decline. If we just give money because they need building, the magic will not happen. Deterioration and decline is the risk. Research and innovation demand a distinct, insulated financial mechanism. This insulated financial mechanism, a mechanism that sees beyond the need of today, that looks at the national agenda, that looks way forward, and so we need to start building this. I have an example for you. There was a time, I think about 10 or 15 years ago, I was in Cambridge, and in our postgraduate center, we had what they call the Chinese fund. You know, they sent us some millions of pounds for Chinese students. And the idea was that once they were admitted, or this is the beauty, in Nigeria we call it connaissance. The instruction says when they were admitted, then another one said once they were admittable, we should admit them. And any problem they had, if they needed tutorials for language or for general knowledge, we will take out of that fund, bring them in and brush them up. That is the long view. So at some point, there was no reason. You had no tangible reason to deny a Chinese student admission anymore because they had a policy and they had the money. And you know, regardless of the kind of tie they wear, even if they wear like Dr. Ruben Abati's bow tie, you know they still like money over there. So that, and with that, I take Ayo's job and welcome Ruben Abati to our midst, as he's the one speaking later on. Ciao. So, the Tetfund, therefore, will continue to be relevant as long as it continues to guide things. Currently, industry stakeholders in Nigeria are yet to provide the level of funding required for research endeavors, as much as they try. Our industries, be it manufacturing, telecoms, even the law, they're not doing what they ought to be doing. You see, across the world, law firms, telecom industries, all industries, they go to tertiary institutions to go and give money, to go and recruit from there. We need to encourage that kind of culture. What Tetfund can do is, what they have to do to be relevant in the future, is to know that that gap is there and to find ways to do it. So to that extent, the new duty of Tetfund will now be not only to manage funds or to disburse funds, like the pet name Tetfund Darling. Besides being Tetfund Darling, Tetfund now has to go and create partnership with other stakeholders, with industries, both national and international, to see how they can foster development. In my views, therefore, the new key areas that Tetfund must expand into will include research commercialization. We must find a way to aggressively drive research and commercialize it, transforming efforts from mere library archives to cutting-edge laboratory and data collection useful thing. We need to change the gear to making sure research affects the real world. We need to look at a way to help drive targeted research that Nigeria needs, such as food security, renewable energy, public health, digital economy, social security technology, education methodology, not just education, but the methodology of education itself, monitoring and quality assurance. Tetfund needs to find a way to be what I would call the national research mission. Tetfund needs to build that. Tetfund needs to open a desk really for private sector engagement. We must actively incentivize our industries to co-invest in research within the priority sectors that we're needed in, to fuel innovation and to drive economic growth. Tetfund's responsibility must expand beyond disbursing of funds. It must also hold recipients accountable, so that the next time my dear brother from Lagos State comes to tell us that the university is the most desirable, we must ask them, what have they done for us lately? And they should be able to list it, what they've done with that money, to show that with what you've given us, this is what we've been able to achieve. That is the idea of using the funds to make it accountable as well. And when we do this, there must not be equal treatment. Institutions that do better should get more. They should be celebrated. They should be known that because you've been able to do this, you deserve more, so that others will aspire to do that. A good, level, fair starting point for all, but recognition based on merit for those who do well. Of course, we have to weigh these things before they go and say, I'm saying they should be giving some people, not others now. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that those who can't do that. Tetfund should also reassess its relationship with private universities and private institutions. My view is that if the curriculum is identical as it is, because it is managed by the regulating body that regulates institutions in private and state universities, and if the student body and the faculty are both Nigerian, I believe that all should feel the presence of Tetfund. Even if it's a moderate kind of feeling, they should find a way, because I'm certain that some people inside this room benefited from some funding, some support, some scholarship, some grants, even outside Nigeria. It is therefore important that we start to have this global look to know we cannot limit it. To make this kind of relevant and Tetfund work, this relevant work, the role of stakeholders also need to change. Our administrators of higher education need to shift from funds for building to funds for outcome. We need to start thinking along that line. We need to learn to build partnership with industries. We need to strengthen internal financial transparency to encourage investments, donation, and various possible partnerships with industries, individuals, and international partners. Our unions, both the academic and the student union, must learn to use advocacy not just to disrupt, but to secure better system, whether it's funding or process. When you grow up with a name like Killer, you are used to anybody doing anything. You stand strong because your name puts you already in a way at least you're game for fight. I am known to go to union events and to go and tell them they are wrong. They should not disturb government. That does not mean when I see government tomorrow, I won't tell them they are wrong too. But the point is that the union of the future cannot be a no-placard union. It doesn't work. Union needs to learn to be proactive and constructive in the way. So we need to change that approach. Non-governmental organizations and civil society groups that are in education needs to become more visible, not at the back end. They need to propose solutions, highlight needs, and show how they can be actively involved in it. Our friends in the media, who should be our allies in education and provide a vital link between the public, policymakers, and institutions, they need to find a way to make sure that this link they're covering is honest, is deep. But above all, we need to find a way to move away from just reporting pure sensation or mere celebration. We need to find a way to focus on efforts and results to show that this institution, the faculty or the students or the administrators are trying this kind of thing. And I believe that it is possible to report news even where you do not have success yet, to report the efforts. Because sometimes by showing that one university, one institution, let me not leave out polytechnics and other before they call me elitist, that one institution is doing something or they've started a process. By reporting it, it brings curiosity, interest, and perhaps partnership to be able to be part of it. I know a lot of people who contact me from abroad to wonder, is there anywhere in Nigeria where this kind of research is being done? Can we get in touch with them? It is my view that our colleagues in the media can help that to work on. Now, before I bore people totally to death, allow me to quickly give some bullet points, some practical recommendations which I think that the Tetfund of the future needs to consider. I hope that some of these will be a repetition of what I said, but it is good to highlight them. Number one, we must establish a clear and visible national framework for research alignment. Tetfund must use its influence and force to align what is being funded with what we want to achieve nationally. And what we want to achieve nationally should be a product of our view, of our research into what we need, what we have, and what we lack, and try to bridge that gap. We must focus and try to implement performance-based funding for those who will be funded from us. It is important to decentralize disbursement and ensure timelines. One of the good news I've heard today was when they were doing introduction here, and I heard introducing head of board members in the region. That's a very beautiful thing. The idea that you know that in your region, in your state, there are people who represent you and probably understand you better. I hope that they'll be empowered to do more because they'll be able to feel what is going on there. We need to deliberately invest in digital infrastructure. The digital infrastructure is not an optional, it's not an addition. It has become an essential, very basic infrastructure in our life. Every student, not most students, not some students, every student must have access to online resources and learning tools. And here the ES will tell me, yes, they have their interconnecting tetras. That's very good. Digital tools are the new essential infrastructure and they must be available for education because they're vital. We need to fortify our audit and transparency system to launch a public dashboard that tracks Tetfund and projects so that people will not, be vague about what Tetfund is doing. There should be a way in which people see. You see, because when we show what we do with what we have, we're likely to get more. That is the whole point. Thank God they have somebody like the ES who's a very grateful man. If it was me, when they gave me 50%, I would say I want 70 of that 50% that they offered you. That's why they chose you there. Moderate and good man. Tetfund must support curriculum modernization, which is what the employers want, but we must also, and this is a paradox, while on one side we align research with national interest and we try to modernize our curriculum to meet practical things that employers need, amazingly, this same person talking argues that Tetfund should also find a way to create a space for purely similar intellectual pursuits. Very theoretical things that nobody will use. I have received funding before to do research on the sexual life of the people in the Middle Ages. It was funded. Actually, it was funded more than those people trying to cure some disease immediately. But the whole point is that those who fund those kind of things, that man is laughing. You like bad things. That's kind of laughter you're laughing. Serious people are holding themselves back not to laugh because you could not help yourself. Now, the reason why you fund this kind of things is that because you know that in the process of doing that, a lot will be discovered that you can then use in the daily life and their understanding. So while Tetfund works with industries to fund very practical knowledge, it is important that it also creates a space for those similar esoteric, purely intellectual things that will save the future. Some people are still arguing that, well, we're going to send people to the moon when we cannot cure acne or bald head yet. But here you go. One thing leads to the other. If Tetfund wants to be authoritative, relevant and authoritative, it has to be that organ that does what others have no interest in doing. And that is the key point. Tetfund is that organ that will do things that others cannot see the immediate interest in doing. Why? Because Tetfund looks at the future. Because it is there to create a safety net. We must promote competitive research clusters across the nation. Tetfund needs to encourage and support localization as well as interstate and regional collaborations among institutions. We have 36 states and we have a lot of institutions in those states. Imagine if we could have in this country 40 or 50 centers of excellence across the country that are known to be the place for these very crucial things that they do. And Tetfund follows them. And you see, and those centers of excellence, they don't have to be just that institution. It could be a collaboration among the institutions of those areas because they use localized ideas to make it happen. Tetfund also needs to enhance. If I don't say this, some people will not be happy, and I believe in it anyway. We need to enhance faculty welfare. It is not enough to build buildings. Try to give some professors more money. Try to make sure that they are enabled to do more research, more publication, more participation. There's a lot of career development courses that goes beyond what they're even studying. Let the lecturers in the Faculty of Law get some career development fund to study French, Arabic, or even cooking. It is okay. It is part of development. That is something that others might not understand, but Tetfund will understand what they're doing. As long as they can justify what they will bring back, or as His Excellency, the then Governor Mashari will put it, as long as they can show it is useful. I still remember that his paper on my head. As long as they can show you it is useful, fund them for such things. It is great. The relationship, and I go back to it, between Tetfund and private academic institutions must be considered seriously immediately. The current total exclusion, I believe, is unsustainable and cannot continue indefinitely. We must find a way to assess this situation and explore at least a partial, maybe conditional involvement of the private institution, collaboration that can lead to mutual benefit between Tetfund and the whole academic ecosystem. Tetfund must find a way to gain recognition outside academic circles. That's very important. Because you see, this body that does a lot for the academic circle must not be restricted inside the academic circle. It is not just a matter of showing off. It is because it brings results. The key is to demonstrate tangible achievement which will benefit the society. When society see impacts of Tetfund, I believe the Tetfund's relevance will grow and it will get more respect. And this visibility, I believe, can also pave way for more partnership and funding even beyond government. Tetfund really need to look out to do that. In closing, allow me to leave with a reminder, and that is that Tetfund is not just a fund. It is a national philosophy. It is a philosophy that states that education is too vital to be left solely to budgets. However, a philosophy is as effective as its implementation. If we truly believe, as the ES has said, that education is the driving force of national progress, then Tetfund must become more than a structural builder. It must become a cultivator of minds, a generator of ideas, a catalyst of national competitiveness, and contrary to what too many people think, Nigeria's future will not be shaped by oil, politics, or population. It will depend on the quality of our thinking. Systems will develop and nurture from that kind of thinking. Let us therefore, I leave you to say, commit to strengthening Tetfund, reforming our institution, building a tertiary institution and system that is befitting of a nation of ideas, promises, and possibilities. Thank you very much.
A big thank you, Professor Anthony Killer. Thank you so much. Please, can we give him a loud round of applause for that brilliant presentation. Professor Killer, I believe we can say it on good authority that you did not fall hand. Thank you so much. Now, Malik?
Indeed, thought-provoking, and he illuminated on a whole lot of things that we can say that Tetfund is at the forefront of some of what he had talked about, like TEDFAIR, R4I initiative, and even Terrace. Please, let's applaud him once again.
Yes. One of the things I loved most about his presentation was the fact that he answered the question of the main thrust of his presentation, which was, is Tetfund relevant? It was a big resounding yes. However, he did say there were conditions attached to it, or perhaps a modification of how Tetfund currently runs. And I believe that maybe we need to, architect Echono needs to give him a little bit more for his consultation fees. He gave some very, very important recommendations, some of which, as he concluded, was that we must go beyond infrastructure to cultivating minds, to generating ideas. I believe one of the main things he spoke about, very importantly, was investing in research, whereby the produces or products from our institutions, whether it be universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, would be able to compete with their counterparts around the world. Digital infrastructure, he talked about investing in that, and I thought that was just brilliant. So again, Architect Echono, you can also pay me for my unsolicited recommendations and referral, but for Professor Anthony Killer, for bringing it on, you didn't have to consult him or pay him his regular fees, just a percentage. So brilliant submission.
So he said something about having to expect what the ES was going to say.
Yes.
So I think he brought that to bear, and at every point when he was doing the presentation, I was observing the ES's reaction from there. It's more like a milestone for us of Tetfund, and it's a clear indication of what we are and what we'll do at the epicenter of things. So that's quite laudable. Please, let's give a resounding applause for the Executive Secretary of Tetfund and the leadership and the Board of Trustees here present today.
All right, they say the reward for hard work is more work. So, sir, you have a lot of more work ahead of you. In the next few minutes, we'd like to engage the audience. It's time for an interactive session, and we have the opportunity to ask questions based on Professor Killer's presentation. He had talked about funds for outcomes as opposed to funds for buildings. All right. Well, in the interest of time, I believe that we would move very quickly to the next presentation, and then we'll take our interactive session at once. If you have any questions, or perhaps you'd like to comment based on the first presentation, please hold your thoughts. Don't go anywhere yet. Write it down. We'll be more than happy to take it in addition to the next presentation.
All right. Since we're doing the next presentation, I'll do the justice calling on the next presenter, who is a veteran journalist, a seasoned newspaper columnist, and an anchor of the Arise News, the Arise Television, in person of Dr. Ruben Abati. So please let's applaud him as he makes his way, and will be doing presentation on the Tetfund, or the eyes of the public. Please just applaud him as he makes his way, please.
A very quick fact, he's possibly the latest 60-year-old in the room.
Interesting.
So please let's give him a diamond round of applause as he comes to take the microphone for his presentation.
Thank you. You're welcome, sir.
the chairman of this occasion, the chairman of the Board of Trustees, members of the Board of Trustees, the head of Tetfund, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Royal Highness, by the way, by association, is a member of our tribe, the journalism tribe. Anyway, thank you very much, sir, for gracing this occasion. I saw the Olofin of Sherry Olofin earlier on. Kabiyesi, thank you for being here. And then, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, not forgetting Professor Anthony Killer, my friend, colleague, and brother, who had just spoken. Well, I have quite a long piece here, but I would prefer to just read it because I've put down my thoughts. Your Excellency, good to see you again, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So my presentation is titled Tetfund in the Public Eye: Roles, Impact, Public Value, and the Way Forward. Distinguished guests, esteemed academics, policymakers, students, and all present. It is an honor to speak on a subject that is central to Nigeria's future: the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Tetfund. Tetfund is among the most strategic national investments in Nigeria today. As nations now compete with ideas, innovation, technology, and talent, Nigeria must keep pace. Today's presentation, Tetfund in the Public Eye: Roles, Impact, Public Value, and the Way Forward, goes beyond the administration of the fund itself. Our focus is developmental and nationalistic. No country rises above its educational quality, nor can any system surpass the strength of its funding. Today, people are watching public institutions more closely than ever. In Nigeria, this watchfulness is even stronger because citizens want public bodies to show their value clearly and justly. Taxpayers want to know how every naira is spent. Students want courses and campuses that help them fit into today's world. Lecturers want training and research support. Employers want skilled graduates who are ready for the workplace. Governments want education to improve national productivity and help us compete globally. Tetfund works in an environment with high expectations. Even with these pressures, one thing is clear: Tetfund is a key part of Nigeria's higher education. You can see Tetfund's presence not only in the buildings on campuses, but also in important improvements to research, staff training, and support for institutions. If for one moment we imagine the complete removal of Tetfund interventions from our tertiary institutions, the picture will be troubling. Many campuses will immediately fall into deeper infrastructural decay. Laboratories, libraries, lecture halls, and ICT centers established largely through Tetfund will become inadequate or even disappear. Research output, already under pressure, would diminish drastically without the research fund. Academic trainings and conferences sponsorships too. With the loss of postgraduate sponsorships and international exposure, lecturer capacity will be severely weakened. Ultimately, Nigeria's tertiary education system will risk systemic collapse with long-term implications for national development. This is why today's conversation is both urgent and important. Tetfund is not failing. In fact, the fund has achieved a lot. But its success is too important to ignore or leave undefined. Such a key public institution must be discussed openly, carefully reviewed, and understood by the public who makes its work possible. So today's presentation has 5 main goals. First, to clarify Tetfund's statutory roles and responsibilities in a manner that dispels misconceptions and enhances public understanding. Second, to move beyond public perception whether positive or critical, and examine the fund's real measurable impact on Nigeria's tertiary education system. Third, to analyze Tetfund not just as a funding mechanism, but as a generator of public value, viewed through the lens of contemporary public administration and public value theory. Fourth, to identify the structural, administrative, and contextual challenges that may hinder Tetfund's ability to deliver its mandate at optimal levels. And finally, to propose a forward-looking roadmap, a set of reforms, strategies, and innovations that can strengthen Tetfund's relevance, operational efficiency, transparency, and legitimacy in the years ahead. In essence, this conversation is for us to look critically, yet constructively, at an institution whose contribution affects millions of Nigerians directly or indirectly. It calls on us to recognize both its achievements and its vulnerabilities, and so we may assign blame, but so we may protect and enhance a national asset vital to our and developmental failure. Now, understanding Tetfund, its mandate, structure, and rules. To appreciate Tetfund's role, consider its origins, evolution, and rationale. It arose from a national necessity that was created, as Nigeria could no longer ignore the decline in tertiary education. Understanding Tetfund requires examining its history, funding, mandates, and governance. Tetfund's story began in 1993 with the Education Tax Fund. At the time, Nigeria's tertiary institutions faced decaying infrastructure, obsolete labs, empty libraries, and chronic underfunding. Student numbers grew as infrastructure collapsed. Lecturers struggled with limited opportunities and support. The ETF was created as a corrective measure, mobilizing resources beyond national budgets, traditional budgets, to revitalize education. However, over time, it became clear that the ETF's goal, though good, was too large because it tried to help every level of education. Nigeria's education problems needed a more focused and specialized solution. In 2011, following changes to the law, the ETF became the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Tetfund. This change was not just for show. It indicated that Nigeria saw the need for a steady, focused approach to support and improve higher education, universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. The change meant more investment in people, research, and institutions. In short, Tetfund became a key part of Nigeria's plan to build a modern, educated society. Tetfund's distinctive funding model, sets it apart. Rather than relying only on government allocations, Tetfund is sustained by a ring-fenced 2% education tax on the accessible profits of all registered Nigerian companies, a unique public-private partnership. The funding was increased, the education tax, to 2.5% in 2021, and subsequently to 3% in 2023. In effect, companies help fund tertiary education. Tetfund aggregates and strategically allocates these contributions, dispersing them to institutions that execute projects. This model ensures consistent funding, reduces political risk, strengthens accountability by linking funds to taxpayers, and fosters national responsibility for education. Tetfund exemplifies meaningful private sector participation in national development through transparent, structured taxation. Tetfund's influence is broad. Unlike other agencies, it covers nearly all aspects of academic life, building infrastructure, supporting research, and fostering academic development. Its most visible contributions are in infrastructure across universities, polytechnics, and colleges, providing essential lecture halls, laboratories, libraries, hostels, and offices, especially where government funding falls short. Beyond physical structures, Tetfund plays a pivotal role in Nigeria's intellectual development through research, innovation, and development. This is primarily driven by the National Research Fund, which supports cutting-edge applied research aimed at solving national problems across agriculture and health, technology, and security. By enabling researchers to undertake meaningful inquiry, the fund contributes directly to national competitiveness and evidence-based policymaking. Another critical pillar of its mandate is academic staff training and development. Tetfund sponsors postgraduate studies, both locally and internationally, supports conference participation, and funds capacity-building programs that expose lecturers to new ideologies, technologies, and global best practices. This continuous investment in human capital ensures that Nigerian academics remain globally competitive and professionally enriched. Complementing these efforts is Tetfund's commitment to library development and learning resources. Modern libraries no longer rely solely on shelves of books. They require e-resources, digital catalogs, journals, databases, and knowledge repositories. Tetfund's interventions help institutions acquire these modern tools, ensuring that students and researchers have access to the information they need to thrive in a knowledge-driven world. In an age defined by digital transformation, Tetfund also provides ICT support and digital infrastructure. This includes broadband connectivity, virtual learning platforms, computer laboratories, and other technological tools necessary for teaching, research, and administration. These interventions became particularly critical during the COVID-19 pandemic, which underscored the importance of resilient digital systems in education. Additionally, the fund supports conference attendance, institutional governance, and publication development. This allows Nigerian scholars to present their work internationally, network with global peers, and bring back new ideas that profit their institutions. Taken together, that uplift their institutions. It also strengthens the leadership and management capacity of institutions while supporting the publication of journals, books, and academic outputs. Taken together, these intervention lines form an interconnected ecosystem of support. Tetfund does not merely construct buildings or purchase equipment. It invests in people, ideas, processes, and institutional structures. It nurtures capacity, stimulates innovation, enhances infrastructure, and strengthens governance. In practice, Tetfund has become the lifeblood of Nigeria's knowledge economy, quietly powering learning, research, training, and innovation in ways that may be understated but are profoundly transformative. Tetfund's governance model is built on a carefully layered structure that reflects the magnitude of the national resources it manages and the sensitivity of its mandate. Effective oversight is central to its credibility. And the fund has been deliberately designed to promote transparency, accountability, and disciplined operations across all its activities. At the apex of this structure sits the Board of Trustees, the body charged with setting policy direction, providing strategic oversight, and ensuring that Tetfund remains aligned with national priorities in higher education. The board functions as the custodian of the fund's vision, safeguarding its integrity and long-term impact. Working directly under the board is the Executive Secretary, who serves as the organization's administrative and operational head. The Executive Secretary oversees the day-to-day management of the fund, coordinates interventions, ensures that policies are implemented effectively, and maintains relationships with institutions and government agencies. In many ways, the Executive Secretary is the engine room of Tetfund's operations. Supporting this leadership are several directorates, each responsible for a critical component of the fund's mandate. Each of Tetfund's operational directorates plays a distinct and essential role in sustaining the fund's overall mission. The Procurement Directorate ensures that all required resources are acquired in accordance with regulatory standards and that every investment delivers optimal value for money. This is vital in an environment where public confidence depends heavily on transparent spending. The Research and Development Directorate serves as the fund's intellectual engine. It drives innovation by supporting scholarly inquiry, funding research projects, and promoting knowledge creation that addresses national challenges. Without this component, Tetfund's role in shaping Nigeria's knowledge economy will be incomplete. Through the Project Monitoring and Evaluation Directorate, the fund tracks the progress, quality, and implementation impact of its interventions across the country. This directorate safeguards the integrity of projects by ensuring they are implemented as planned and deliver measurable benefits to institutions. Long-term visioning is provided by the Planning and Strategy Directorate, which conducts institutional analysis, formulates strategic frameworks, and ensures that Tetfund's activities remain aligned with broader national educational goals. The Directorate ensures that the fund not only responds to current needs, but also anticipates future demands. Meanwhile, the Finance and Disbursement Directorate manages resource allocation, enforces financial controls, and oversees auditing processes. Its work guarantees that funds are released appropriately, tracked properly, and utilized responsibly across all beneficiary institutions. Finally, the Human Resources and Administration Directorate maintains organizational efficiency by managing personnel, supporting staff development, and ensuring that internal systems function smoothly. Without effective human resource management, even the most well-funded initiatives will struggle to achieve their intended outcomes. Together, these directorates form the operational backbone of Tetfund, enabling the institution to fulfill its mandate with professionalism, discipline, and strategic clarity. Together, these directorates create a governance ecosystem where specialized functions reinforce one another, promoting both rigor and continuity. Moreover, each beneficiary institution, whether a university, polytechnic, or college of education, appoints Tetfund desk officers. These officers serve as the operational bridge between Tetfund and the institutions. They prepare proposals, coordinate documentation, monitor projects on the ground, and ensure that institutional activities comply with Tetfund guidelines. Their role is critical in translating Tetfund's policies into practical outcomes at the institutional level. This governance model, with its multiple layers and intersecting roles, is intentional. It distributes responsibility, creates internal checks and balances, and reduces opportunities for mismanagement or unilateral decision-making. However, it also introduces bureaucratic complexity. Processes can be slow. Approvals may take time. Institutions sometimes express frustration with the administrative rigor that is to assess or implement interventions. Nonetheless, this complexity is not without purpose. It reflects an effort to protect public resources and maintain accountability. Moving forward, the challenge and the opportunity lie in streamlining the system without weakening oversight. That balance will be crucial as Tetfund continues to evolve and respond to emerging demands in Nigeria's higher education landscape. Now, Tetfund in the public eye. Perception versus reality. Understanding how the public perceives Tetfund is essential for appreciating both its successes and its challenges. Public institutions survive not only on their performance, but also on their legitimacy. In the case of Tetfund, the institution enjoys a relatively high level of visibility, yet much of the public conversation around it remains shaped by partial information, assumptions, and evolving expectations. For most Nigerian students, parents, lecturers, alumni, Tetfund is encountered through the physical and functional improvements it brings to campuses. It is the new faculty building rising where an abandoned structure once stood. It is a modern ICT center humming with hundreds of computers, providing students with essential digital literacy skills. It is a lecture theater with working air conditioners, internet connectivity, ergonomic seating, and functional multimedia facilities. To the academic staff, Tetfund may be the scholarship that made it possible to pursue a master's degree or a PhD abroad, or the sponsorship that allowed them to attend an international conference and engage with global scholarship. For others, it is the source of teaching aids, research grants, library upgrades, and institutional capacity building programs that have transformed academic operations. In this sense, Tetfund is visible, tangible, and measurable. It manifests physically on campuses, and its interventions often translate into immediate improvements in comfort, productivity, and academic experience. This strong visibility is a major contributor to its favorable public reputation. Yet, beyond this visibility lies a deeper layer of misconceptions that shape public perception. Many Nigerians assume that every building or facility on a tertiary campus is a Tetfund project. Any project with a modern look is often attributed to the fund, even when it is funded directly by the institution or state government. There is also a widespread belief that Tetfund's role is to replace government funding rather than complement it. This misconception ignores the reality that the fund was never designed to take over the responsibilities of the state or federal government in funding tertiary education. It was designed to support, not to substitute. Another persistent assumption is that Tetfund has unlimited resources and should therefore respond to every need, such as hostels, roads, salaries, power supply, student bursaries, and even welfare. Some stakeholders also perceive Tetfund resources as readily accessible, believing that institutions can request for funds at will. These misconceptions create unrealistic expectations and strain the relationship between the fund and its stakeholders. They set the stage for frustration when institutional requests cannot be accommodated or when project cycles follow strict procedural timelines that may appear slow to the uninformed observer. In today's media-driven society, perception often races ahead of reality. Social media in particular has amplified voices and opinions, both informed and largely uninformed, shaping public narratives at astonishing speed. A stalled project on a campus, even when caused by institutional bureaucracy, contractor challenges, or procurement delays, may be immediately attributed to Tetfund inefficiency. The fund becomes an easy target, not necessarily because it is at fault, but because it is the most visible financier. In contrast, completed projects rarely receive the same level of attention or visibility. A newly commissioned block may trend for a day, but a delayed project can trend for months. The uneven visibility of success and failure can skew public perception. If communication is not deliberate and consistent, misinformation may overshadow the fund's actual performance. Thus, we see a critical lesson. Public trust is not built solely on performance. It is strengthened through continued communication, clear messaging, transparency, responsiveness, and public engagement. Tetfund must not only do the work, it must be seen to be doing the work, and it must consistently explain what it can and cannot do. The distance between perception and reality is not a gap to be lamented, but a gap to be managed. And managing it is central to Tetfund's long-term public value and legitimacy. Impact and public value of Tetfund. To understand the significance of Tetfund within Nigeria's higher education system, it is necessary to move beyond perception and examine the fund's impact through multiple lenses. Its contributions are multidimensional, spanning infrastructure, human capital, research, equity, and broader societal outcomes. Viewed collectively, these interventions reveal why Tetfund is widely regarded not merely as a funding agency, but as a vital agency of public value. One of the most visible and transformative areas of Tetfund's intervention is infrastructure. Across universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education, the fund has played a decisive role in reshaping the physical landscape of tertiary education in Nigeria. Thousands of lecture halls have been constructed or renovated, creating conducive learning environments where previously dilapidated structures stood. Workshops, studios, and laboratories essential for practical and technical training have been upgraded, enabling students to acquire hands-on experience critical for professional readiness. Libraries have been modernized into knowledge centers equipped with contemporary digital and print resources, offering students and researchers access to global information networks. Simultaneously, the digitalization of teaching and learning through ICT laboratories, online resources, and learning management systems has opened new frontiers in education, making learning more interactive, accessible, and aligned with international standards. These interventions collectively rebuild the foundations of Nigeria's tertiary education system, addressing both physical decay and technological gaps that previously hampered learning. Tetfund is arguably the largest institutional sponsor of academic staff development in Africa. Its investments in human capital have been transformative, targeting both the quality and global competitiveness of Nigerian academics. Through scholarships and grants, thousands of lecturers have pursued MSc and PhD programs, both locally and internationally, acquiring advanced knowledge and skills that they bring back to Nigerian campuses. Beyond formal degree programs, Tetfund enables academic exposure through conference participation, fellowship programs, academic exchanges, and sabbaticals. These opportunities allow Nigerian scholars to network globally, stay abreast of cutting-edge research, and benchmark their work against international standards. The result is a significant elevation in teaching quality, research output, and institutional capacity, ensuring that universities are staffed by personnel capable of driving knowledge creation and innovation. The National Research Fund, NRF, administered by Tetfund, has become a cornerstone for applied research and innovation in Nigeria's tertiary education sector. By providing dedicated funding for research initiatives, the fund has enabled breakthroughs in multiple areas: technology-driven solutions, agricultural innovation, health and pharmaceutical research, ICT development, cybersecurity, and inquiry in social sciences and humanities. These interventions serve dual purposes. They address national development challenges while simultaneously positioning Nigerian researchers within the global knowledge economy. However, despite these gains, research remains an area that requires deeper investment, better coordination, and stronger institutional oversight to ensure sustainability and greater social impact. A defining feature of Tetfund's approach is its commitment to equitable national development. Unlike prior funding mechanisms that often favored older or metropolitan institutions, Tetfund ensures that smaller, rural, or newer institutions receive support comparable to that allocated to long-established universities. This strategic allocation reduces historical inequalities in infrastructure, research capacity, and academic opportunity, fostering a more balanced and inclusive tertiary education system across Nigeria. Now, let's talk theory. Viewed through the lens of Moore's public value theory, the impact of Tetfund transcends the immediate outcomes of financial disbursement. Its interventions generate value across multiple interconnected dimensions that collectively enhance the quality, credibility, and societal relevance of Nigeria's tertiary education system. Firstly, there is outcome value, reflected in the tangible improvements that students, lecturers, and institutions experience daily. Modernized lecture rooms, upgraded laboratories, digitized libraries, and improved ICT infrastructure, which transform the learning environment, directly elevating the quality of education delivered. These visible enhancements demonstrate that public investment has produced concrete results that can be measured, experienced, and appreciated. Secondly, service value arises from strengthened institutional capacity and administrative efficiency. Tetfund enables universities and colleges to operate more effectively. These improvements enhance institutions' ability to deliver educated services reliably, manage resources efficiently, and maintain operational continuity, ensuring that both teaching and research functions meet evolving standards of excellence. Thirdly, trust value is generated through the fund's transparent, accountable, and well-structured mechanisms for resource allocation. Citizens, institutional leaders, and other stakeholders gain confidence.
Welcome back from the live telecast. We'll now continue with our regular programs. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching Business